What's the P? Time to change the narrative. Black gay men talking real issues and they sharing it. Everything from dating, even talking hot topics. Mental health, sex, love, and everything around it. No longer will be silent. It's time for liberation. We need way more positive representation. Learn and connect. This is everything you need. Sharing their perspective. Now you knowing what's the P. Hey, what's the P?
Hello and welcome to What's the P. I'm Justin Lamar.
And I'm Curtis Rosella. This is another episode of What's the P, a show that provides a platform for gay black men to express their perspectives on topics, issues, and perspectives of the world around us. We have joining us today on our topics, we have Julian, Lissatomic out of New York, Julian's out of Atlanta, and Tony, Doug, in Houston.
And I'm
Welcome,
in
you guys.
New Orleans.
So, give me 2 seconds. So the purpose of today's show is to discuss the options that people have as it pertains to fulfilling personal urges and needs in relationships. Statistics show that infidelity, lack of intimacy, and communication are amongst the top reasons why relationships deteriorate or dissolve. This is especially true in gay relationships. The book, The Ethical Slut, seems to have an option on tackling these issues by opting for open relationships and maintaining these open relationships by learning how to be self-aware, using honesty and open communication. So let's discuss your thoughts on open relationships from the black gay male's perspective. The first question that we'll have today is, have you ever been in or considered having an open relationship? I guess we'll start with Julian.
I don't believe in open relationships. I believe in honest relationships. People feel as though just because I'm being honest with my partner or my significant other in any kind of way that I'm leaving my relationship open for any and everyone. And I don't think that that's always the case. Being honest is being honest with yourself. And it's taking out that opportunity for someone to come in and, be that wedge between the two of you.
So from a traditional sense of what stereotypically, would that be an open relationship or not?
To some people, it would be an open relationship. It would be, yes.
Okay. Me, I considered being in an open relationship. I haven't been in an open relationship. I was thinking that maybe that might be an option because a lot of guys that I was trying to chat with, they were saying from the jump that they wanted to be in an open relationship, and I was wondering if I'd be able to be in a relationship without having to have the constructs and the confines of what people say the traditional sense of a heterosexual relationship. So, but I haven't been in one yet, and I haven't decided. Tomic, what do you think?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm actually really excited to be on the show, and I absolutely love that theme song. So good. I'm like, Wendy got Fergie, and The View got Mary J, and y'all got whatever y'all guys. I love it. So yes, I actually have been in open relationships, plural. I prefer to be in an open relationship. I'm not getting into a monogamous relationship. That's just not what I want. That's not what I see for myself. For me, the reason is that I don't think you can expect anyone to be everything for you. And I definitely don't ever want anyone to put that kind of pressure on me. My thing is that we just have like love and trust and communication, and if you are doing something like outside of our relationship or hooking up with somebody outside of the relationship, it's not like there's no emotional connection to it. Like if you go out one night with your boys or something like that and you meet somebody and you hook up, that's actually fine with me. And yeah, for me, it's really just about the emotional aspect of it mostly, and not trying to put everyone on this like pedestal of like having to, you know, be, perfect for you and everything that you want, and getting your needs outside of what I can't give or what you can't give me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Justin, what about you?
I like that.
I was gonna refer back to you, and I was gonna say no, Tomic, right? I was
Yes.
gonna say so, like you know how people go out. So you agree with hooking up? Is that's what you said?
Like hooking up is not a big deal to me
Oh,
at
I mean,
all.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. But no,
Yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we were clear, like hooking up or like a relationship with another person.
Yeah, no, that to me is I don't know if that would even be an open relationship anymore. I'm like,
Right.
is that
Yeah.
polyamory? Is that like, I feel
Yeah.
like there's another word for, you
That.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
an emotional connection with someone else.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So for myself, I think have I ever considered being in a open relationship? No, I think I believe in a one person type of relationship. I understand that you can't give everything to everybody, but I think when you let that door open, you have to know your partner first of all. You have to know your partner's needs. And if you understand that, then maybe y'all not meant to be. I just think sometimes when you let a, another person in or open relationship hooking up, it can be to me, I think it could lead to different things, like other relationships, right? Like you might be hooking up with a person, but you're emotionally tied to somebody else because you've been sexually involved with them. That's what I think. So, mm, but I do know people who have an open relationship and they do have like group stuff, and it's a lot. But it works for them, and they've been together for 10, 15 years. So I think you just have to know your partner, and your partner has to be able and willing to want to explore that avenue with you. Hold on, Curtis.
Slash Tony.
What you say, Curtis?
I said we'll go to Doug slash Tony. Oh, unmute yourself.
Oh no, I have
Your
to.
mic.
I did it.
Uh, Next time I'll put my whole name. Um, yes, I have. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on the show. Yes, I have been in an open relationship. But prior to being in an open relationship, um, like when I was younger in my 20s, I was like the third party to open relationships. So I'm a type of person. I observe and I pay attention to things. So when I was younger and I was going into those situations, I paid attention to how they functioned and what I did and did not like. So it opened me up to another side of seeing that I like the aspect of open relationships. But as you guys said before, there is one key fact that I find that is a must in having an open relationship, which is honesty. And it's honesty with yourself primarily. Because what I find is a lot of time people are not honest with themselves, and instead of saying, "Oh no, I'm just not looking for, something extra," they're actually unhappy with the relationship and should not be in the relationship. And a lot of times that's where they mess up at. So yes, I have been in an open relationship. They are tricky to handle, but as long as there is honesty and transparency, and it's always whoever's the relationship is involving, you guys are like the united front of the situation, and that's how I think open relationships work.
And that's what the book encourages is honesty and open communication, and that was the key thing that they had throughout the whole book that I see
Yeah,
consistently is being able to what both you and Tomic said, understanding who you are and knowing what you need, and then being able to communicate that effectively with being able to do that with your partner as well as with yourself and understand um, uh, what your needs were and what are being met, what needs are being met and what needs are not being met, and how to do that, get those needs met by being ethical and communicating properly to your partner and a significant other about what you guys are going to be doing. The next question is, do you think a book, or what we were saying earlier, encourages a person or a partner not to learn or grow with each other uh, mentally and physically? If you're in an open relationship, do you think being in an open relationship encourages that?
I'll start. So I think that it no, it doesn't. It's just giving a different perspective. There's so many books out there about so many things. I think it's anything is probably validating their thoughts about what they already was thinking. Um, I think it's gonna encourage them, help them get through an open relationship, just like anybody would do with a first year marriage or you're having a baby. These are the steps you might need. I think it's probably a guide, if anything, for a person.
It
Uh,
definitely is a guide,
let's
but
go to Tom.
Thomas was
Um, so just disclaimer, I actually haven't read the book, but I'm just kind of bringing my experience to these answers. Um, I don't think that the book is encouraging partners not to learn or grow, especially if what you're saying is that they're promoting communication. I've been in two different types of open relationships. I've been in the don't ask, don't tell, and I've been in the let's lay it out on the table and talk about everything. And the don't ask, don't tell for one was the one that was the least healthy because for me, I actually wanted to talk about it. My partner wasn't really into that, but it felt like I was inherently doing something wrong by not being able to bring it to him, you know? When you are able to have that communication and when you're able to talk about these things, you're able to talk about your feelings around it. You're able to talk about if there's any kind of jealousy that comes up. You're able to maybe be like, damn, he was hot. Good for you. You know, like things like this are like the type of things that allow your relationship to like foster and grow because you communication, like we said, is like one of the most important things to um like longevity in under that structure. So yeah, I think if anything, it's encouraging people to really kind of dig into that and find out what's working and what doesn't. There's a million types of open relationships. It doesn't mean everybody's relationship is different and you set your own rules for it, Like open relationship doesn't mean that it's just like an, free for all, go and do what you want, you know, with whoever you want. That could be what it is for somebody's relationship, but for a different one, it might be, more restrained. It's just a matter of what everybody is. And you don't know what that is unless you talk about it.
true.
So
First of all, the book was written by females. Yeah. And
It's written by two lesbians.
Yes. And it's interesting to me because the book to me doesn't promote open relationships. It promotes honesty and communication. And like we're all pretty much sort of saying the same thing, but we're giving bits and pieces of it differently. And combining them together is what the book did. It pretty much just lets you know being honest with yourself is the easiest way to be honest with your partner. The way we love each other is the same way that we receive love. So if I can't, like Tomek said, I can't expect, my partner to be my all, but I should still feel confident enough to be able to speak to my partner about anything that I may need or may want. And if I'm not able to do that, how can I consider that individual to be my partner? I can't consider that person to be the person that I love or be my best friend or be the person that I can, give my emotions to if I can't say, oh, that dude is cute, I want to fuck, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. You're an adult. And if you're not able to be honest with I'm sorry, but if a person can't be honest with me, then I know that they're not being honest with themselves. And I know that I know the type of person that they like. You know what type of person that your partner likes. And if you say to them, do you like that individual? And they're not being honest with you, you know it. You know the signs, and you know the feeling, and it's very uncomfortable when that could have been something that y'all could have related or, shared with each other. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And we're always taught that it's bad to look at things that way or to feel that certain type of way, when in reality, it's just being honest with what your needs are and what your wants are. And some people get their needs and wants, confused. But as an adult, I get what I want. I mean, I don't necessarily have to restrain myself just because it's something that I'm not supposed to want, if that makes sense.
I think it does leave a window open for you not to grow mentally and physically with your partner. I think everybody is not as self-aware as they claim to be or pretend to be. Being self-aware is a lot of work. That's why they have books that sell billions and billions of dollars every year, and there's seminars going on, because learning the bad things about yourself is hard to admit. And so people always say that they're open communicators, but they're open to the things that they want people to know about, not the things that make themselves uncomfortable or make them scared. And if you have somebody, I think what happens innately is that we have our partner that we love and we care for, and there's a desire that we probably know about that a desire that we have that they don't like, and or they find disgusting, and it allows you when and so it I think a person gets fearful to have those conversations with that partner because they know how they're going to react, and then they go off and be uh, distrustful and not completely honest. They say a little bit, but not completely honest. So it gives you
That's
that
only
window.
part of it, though, because okay, we're dating, although we have before. If we're dating and I tell you that, just hypothetically, I want to get fisted. If I want to get fisted and you don't want to be the person to fist me, I should still be able to tell you what my wants are, what my needs are, and you not make me feel any type of way. And if we are, that's a totally separate situation that needs to be addressed. And if
Hypothetically.
yeah,
Hypothetically fisted.
definitely. Let me say that again. I'm just giving scenarios. I'm just giving scenarios. Um, we should be able to communicate and talk to each other as adults. Now, I can't make you feel any kind of way about what your desires are, and you can't make me feel any kind of way. And if you are, then I don't see that being as a true partnership. This is not meant to make someone else feel less than or anything. If anything, I will commend my partner for coming to me and telling me, hey, this is what I want as a man. And if you're not able to do these things for me, then we need to talk about how we can, get what I want. There's nothing wrong with that. But I understand what you're saying, where people are not being honest with themselves, but that's something that they have to do as an individual. And in my personal opinion, you cannot get in a relationship, where you should not be getting in a relationship, unless you are self-aware, unless you are, how can you say, oh, I want to be in a relationship with this individual when you don't even know what type of person that you are?
But in our community, we constantly, all you hear all day is guys talking about they want to be in a relationship, they want to be in a relationship, they want a partner, or they can't find a partner, and then they're always saying they know how to communicate. And I have a big thing about that. I tell people that there's a difference between being expressive and being a communicator. People express their dislikes, they don't communicate the things that they need, or what they're scared about, but they are expressive about when they're hurt, or when they got pain, or or if they're upset, but they don't talk about the other good things. So I don't know, but we'll go to the next person. Tony, what happened to you? Did you log?
Did we lose him?
He's probably gonna have to log back out and log in. Oh shit, Justin, have you answered the question? I'm sorry.
You're muted.
I'll tell Tony.
No. He's fine. That's on
I
his
know
end.
he needs to log out and log in, right?
No. What's happening is he walked away from the camera, and so whatever he's doing something. So that's on his end. Because if it was on our end, it'll say disconnection, whatever. If he was having technical difficulties.
Oh, okay. We'll
but we
take it
can.
out.
I mean, this is all edited, so like we're recording mode.
So we'll go to the next
Yeah,
question.
we'll take it out.
Here.
We'll jump to the next question. I'll tell the next question. All right. What are the common misconceptions about an open relationship? Who has been in? What are the common misconceptions of an open relationship?
What do you think?
Stomach was ready.
Oh well, we'll go back to Tony.
There we go.
We'll go back to that question for you. Do you think being in an open relationship encourages you not to grow mentally or physically with your partner?
Muted.
Sorry.
So the answer, no, I don't. When I try to do things, I operate in three principles: respect, love, and honesty, no matter what I'm doing. So if you operate in those principles, whether you're talking about what you want to do sexually or your relationship or whatever, those are the grounds to make the conversation happen. Me personally, I feel like monogamy actually stops people from growing mentally and physically because for the most part, people are in relationships and feeling trapped because of what they're raised and how they're taught to be, instead of actually going out there and, maybe finding someone that's right for them or being in an open relationship or being polyamorous or whatever have them. So no, I don't think that being in an open relationship would stop someone from growing mentally or physically.
Okay. That's a good point.
I love that you said trap, because I always say that. I'm always like, monogamy is a trap.
It's a trap because like they're always unhappy. Like when I was growing up, and my aunt, I talked to my aunt about this. She thought it was the weirdest thing, but I was like, when I was growing up, I used to look at adults and say, I don't want to be like y'all. Y'all look so miserable and so unhappy, and you just so like I didn't want to be like that. So I was like, monogamy is not it. Like no.
So with the next question, do you think a man that prefers an open relationship does so because he can't completely open himself up to a person?
I think it's the complete opposite.
Complete opposite. I sometimes when I'm starting to talk to somebody, I tell them so much about myself. They're sitting there in shock, like But for me, I need you to know all these things up front because this is me. And I have been in situations where things have been hidden from me, and I'm very perceptive. So it's like you're hiding this from yourself, but I can see that you like it.
Right.
And now I feel like you're making me look like a fool because you're asking me to ignore what I can clearly see in front of me. And that's a problem. So no, I don't think that they do it because they can't open up completely. For me instance, I know that it would be just sex for me. It's not that I'm looking for someone else. I know that it would be just sex. But if you're not honest with yourself and it's not just sex or it's just something and you're really unhappy, then that's where the problem comes in at.
Okay. What about you, Julie?
I completely agree. The honesty with yourself is the key to this thing. It's the key. Okay. You have to be honest with yourself in order to, you can't be honest you're not going to be honest with another human being if you're not honest with yourself. You have to trust yourself to be honest with someone else. And if you don't trust yourself, you're not going to trust anyone else, especially with the things that we're not supposed to like. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you have to just be honest.
In the book, it was interesting because it's written from the perspective of lesbians. And the lesbians were talking not only about the physical act of sex, of getting your fulfillment made, but also mental stimulation. And so I think what you have to be, first, a man, uh, I, I have found every guy that I have seen that wanted an open relationship to me seemed a little bit controlling, in the sense of that it was all about them and they wanted to make sure that their needs were being fulfilled and met. And they always stated what they wanted and what they needed, and never took the time to figure out what the other person wanted or desired.
But hold on though.
Okay.
It's a give and take. So if I'm being honest with you, you also have to do the same thing in order to get what you want. I shouldn't have to feed or go find what you want for you to get what you need. If I'm being open and honest with you, you should feel the same exact, right and entitlement into the relationship to be honest and go get what you need. And if you're not, then you're not being honest with yourself in order to get what you need. I'm not depriving you or saying that you can't do something just because I'm getting what I want out of a situation. You have to speak up and say what you want in order to get what you want.
But I think that's part of what a relationship is understanding it, not that the relationship is just about you, and that the only way that we can get your partner's needs met is by them speaking up completely. Like somebody could be passive in a relationship and the other person could be very aggressive and assertive.
You
and
can be with that individual, but when it comes to your wants and needs, if you want them fulfilled, how else are they going to be fulfilled?
That's
because
not how it works.
The honesty in the situation is you being vocal. That's part of the honesty in the situation. Yeah. You're not going to be honest and not say something.
I don't think. I think you have to have the opportunity to be vocal. So
Right.
you can't just be vocal. You have to give that person the opportunity. If somebody's feeling oppressed or feeling like they're being controlled, they're never going to get those needs met. But the other person is always going to be happy, so that's where open relationships, you have to be able to learn how to communicate with your significant other, and communication is not just saying what I want, and telling them what I want all the time. It's like go ahead, tell me.
I think part of communication is absolutely saying what you want. There's compromise. Relationships are about compromise. There are some things that you cannot compromise about yourself.
Yes.
And for some people that may be, and also I'll just say, kind of circling back to the last thing where I was said, monogamy is a trap. I do feel that way myself, but I don't feel that people in monogamous relationships don't have the opportunity to grow, because relationships are hard, whether in an open relationship or a monogamous relationship, it doesn't matter. There's going to be hurdles and out together about how you're going to make this work. But I think that you have to be able to speak up about what you want. And I don't know, maybe from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you've been in a relationship where you felt like more like you were the passive person and maybe couldn't, say what you wanted. And I think we have to be able to read each other. Like, we need to be able to ask each other questions. Like, so how do you feel about that? Have you ever done that? Have you ever acted on that? Would you ever consider it? That's a whole nother problem if you have someone who is domineering what they want over the relationship. Like, they're going to do that in any kind of aspect of whatever you guys are talking about, not just wanting to fuck other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think I don't think an open relationship means that you're not opening yourself up to someone. I think, it's like I think it was Tony that said that, you're doing the opposite. You're really actually kind of putting the cards on the table and being honest about who you are and what you want. And if you're not starting there, where are we going?
It's true. That's true. Justin?
Um, 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 uh, I would say, I think it depends on the person. I think some people have traditional values, some people have more progressive or non-traditional values, and I think you have to always remember what works for you. As long as you remember that, I think you can do what you want to do. Like, I'm not one to judge. I don't want to do it. But I do understand what Julian said. If I tell you my needs and wants, we need to have a discussion and we need to figure out how can we both make it happen, because I would want, if the shoe was on the other foot, I want you to do the same thing to me. Come to me with your concerns, just like if you have a problem in a relationship, let's talk about it, let's work it out, because that cause is like, that's like a tip of an iceberg. And once one thing starts, another thing is going to start. And you have all this anger build up because you can't express yourself. You being
There's no
misunderstood.
outlet. Mhm.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, I totally get it. But I think it's a different thing when a person is just being not, I mean, if you're single, you can do whatever you want to do. But when you're in a relationship and you're not communicating with somebody and you're just Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Sue, Kate, whatever. I think that's
And
when
Dick and Dick.
I think it gets crazy. Like, like what if you're a bisexual and you tell your person you want to have sex with men and women, right? And they don't want to be included. That's a conversation. We know that you're bisexual, and we know you have an open relationship, but you're not having an open relationship with everybody.
Mhm.
Is that fair?
That's why I don't consider it an open relationship. Like, it's not, when people hear open relationship, they think that you're just willing and ready to fuck everything, and that's not the case. Like, it's an honest relationship. It's just you are able to be honest with your partner, with the person who it matters with, and you can get what you want as an adult.
So basically, open communication.
Exactly.
Okay, I agree with that part, but I do. But some people, they take open relationship to the next level, right? You be
Well,
like,
the book says, like, you build your own, and what Tomik was saying before is you build your own parameters and rules of what your relationship will actually entail. Because some people might not want to know what the other person is doing, as long as they know that their partner's needs are being fulfilled and met. But they probably
right.
just don't know what they don't want to know the details. And some people might want to be completely included in everything that's going on.
I just had a
Go ahead.
thought. Like when you said this book was written by two lesbians, we have to think that women operate different from men, right?
Yes.
Their open relationship is going to be totally different from probably a man's perspective. Like women run off of emotions. When they have sexual encounters, they are emotionally tied to that other person. You get what I'm saying?
But
Not
I
all the
think too.
time.
Oh,
You don't
go
think
ahead.
so?
Have
What'd you
you
say?
have you
I
read the
don't
book,
want to throw
Justin?
that.
No.
You got to read the book.
I don't want to throw those kind of labels on women, like as a whole, and I also think we have to get rid of this whole notion of like traditional relationships.
Yes.
Like
Yes,
traditional relationships is what has
I
been
agree.
pushed on us by media since TV has been around with freaking Leave It to Beaver and all that stuff. And there is no such thing as a traditional relationship. If
No.
we knew the dynamics of everyone's relationship from the times when that stuff started getting pushed on us, like the song Papa Was a Rolling Stone didn't come around because Papa was sitting still, you know?
No.
I think everyone has always had, and we hear it in our families. We hear about, people stepping out more. And I think it's definitely more taboo in Black culture. And that's why I was like, when there was that moment with like Will and Jada in August, I was like, oh man, I hope this is the moment that, because there's always been that kind of like rumor that they were like open and stuff like that. I'm like, this would be such an amazing moment for them to come out and like, if that was what was going on, and I still believe that it is what is going on, for them to acknowledge that and to let like Black folks actually be able to have this discussion about how like it's not weird, it's like
not, but they make jokes out of it, and they make things like entanglement, like make songs and other things to, not get to the meat of the situation. They want to cover it up and make it something other than what it needs to be, but they're still trying to push that traditional agenda.
Yeah.
So that what Justin was saying earlier, which I was saying over, takes us to our next question: is would you, what is it? Would it be a problem for you when we were talking about lesbians, because lesbians were in the book? Would it be a problem for you to find outside mental stimulation for your partner or you to find outside mental stimulation from another person? It wasn't just physical. So like if you felt like what you needed was something mentally to stimulate you versus the physical act of sex, would that be an issue for you? Because guys are always talking about, when we talk about open relationships, we always talk about the physical act of sex. But relationships are more than just sex. There's physical, there's mental stimulation or other things that could be happening too. So, but would it be a problem for you?
I give best advice through scenarios, so I have to give a scenario in this situation. I was involved with the guy, and somehow, I don't know how, but him and one of his friends end up having a conversation about me. And I saw his friend the day prior, and I saw him the next day. He got upset with me because I saw his friend the day prior. First of all, I didn't know that they were friends. And he said, his first question to me is, why did I go over there? I said to him, because I wanted some disrespectful dick, period. And I explained to him, it's not taking away from you. It's not taking away from anything that you do. And it's not saying that you don't do anything good for me or to me. But I needed a different type of stimulation that day, physically and mentally. And I got it. And he couldn't handle that. So we stopped talking to each other. But I just had to get him to understand that he provided something, and there's something else that someone else was able to provide for me, and that does not take away from that individual. It doesn't take away from him. It gives me something more in my life that I needed at that moment. So
no, but when I'm talking about stimulation, we're talking about mental,
yes,
like you're like
yes.
a conversation, or you're not being able to speak to your partner about a death that happened in your family, or
I'm using scenarios.
Okay.
I gave you a scenario, and I gave you a physical scenario, but I'm telling you that it was stimulation that I got from that individual that I needed that was more than just physical.
Okay. What
I want to know what kind of mental stimulation you get from disrespectful dick. Please let me know.
I didn't want to feel no love in that moment. I didn't want to feel
Okay.
I needed that. I needed some aggression. I needed someone who didn't actually know my heart to, give me something.
All right, that's a word.
So what about you guys?
I think for me, when I think mental stimulation, I'm thinking like emotional, like an emotional connection with someone. And for me, that would absolutely be a problem. I'm flipping tables. I'm calling your mom. We got a problem. Physical
So relationship would only be okay if they were just having a physical act.
Yes. Yes. You know, mental and emotional is like what we need to grow together as a couple. If you're seeking that somewhere else, then there's something flawed. There's something flawed in our relationship.
See, in the book, it does encourage that.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
ask. I was gonna because earlier in the conversation you were saying how it's not fair for one person to, pretty much be subject to fulfill every need that you have. So how can a person be subject to, completely? Because I'm bad with emotions and I'm bad with feelings, and I know that. And I'll tell a person that, immediately, as Doug was saying earlier, I like to say who I am and what I am up front. And I tell people feelings and emotions don't go good for me. So
mhm.
when it comes down to expressing them, a lot of times I don't necessarily, like to tell my partner that, because I know that they don't know how to figure it out. I know that already because I'm just that complicated with my emotions. So instead of giving them the complex part of the situation, I give them what they're supposed to have in the situation.
See, he's compartmentalizing what his partner can do.
Mhm.
Since
Like
shouldn't you know
he's
what your partner
no,
can or cannot do?
he that's where the problem comes. You put your partner in a box without giving them the opportunity to
They're
feel that
they're given the
as well
opportunity. I didn't just conjure up that feeling or that thought that they cannot handle it with on my own. I know that for a fact. I've already tested out the situation. I've tested out their thought process and their ability to handle it. And if they're not able to, how am I supposed to continue to give them those emotions?
Yes, and I feel like that is so. I have been in a relationship with someone exactly like you, who literally said that. He said, I have a problem with like feelings or expressing emotions and talking about important things. And there'd be times when like we needed to have a like real conversation, and I would call him up and I would go and I would tell him like, look, we need to talk. And I would get over there. He would do everything that he could do to make it feel like it was going to be awkward if I start talking about it. And sometimes I would go over there and just not bring something up. But I've also, like in my last relationship, for instance, we ended up going to couples counseling. And couples counseling was one of the best things I have ever done in my life. And even when our relationship was super strong and there was like no problems in the world, we got so much out of that because what it really made us do was examine the things that our parents did to fuck us up. That was
Mhm.
like the premise of it. And it's things that your parents don't intentionally do. No parents ever intentionally do anything to like, well, maybe some do, but most parents don't ever intentionally do anything to like fuck their children up. But it's just when you think about there's no handbook or guidebook for parenting, and the traumas that we experience with parents we bring into our relationships getting older. And like one of the first exercises that we had to do was like write down the worst traits of like your parents or caregivers, that you like, the five worst traits combined for each of them, right? And we wrote them down, and then we had to look at each other and be like, when I am seeking a partner, I am seeking someone who is, and then you read like those five worst traits, because these are things that your parents inflicted on you, but you still love them and you still care about them, and maybe sometimes you associate those things with love and care, so you still kind of like you see them in a partner and like instinctively you're attracted to it, or you think I can handle that because I have handled that, like these are, so like what you're saying, it's like this is what opens up conversations to like you have to dig into those conversations. And if you can't talk to me about like you're bad with feelings with me, but you're not bad about them with someone else, what is it that someone else has that is letting you open
That's
up
what I
to
would be
them?
concerned about, because you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about them, you're communicating those feelings to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and I would find it a little hurtful to not be able to have that given that opportunity, like don't take that opportunity away from me, you know, to try to even, because maybe I'm not strong at the beginning and I'm learning myself on how to communicate properly with you, you know, because everybody, you communicate with different people differently. And so I might think that I'm a great communicator and I can work with everybody, but then maybe with you it's a whole different way because you work in a different capacity. But I haven't figured out that way yet, because essentially we all have different love languages. But don't take away that opportunity for me to learn and grow with you as a partner, to be able to communicate so we can have that. I think sometimes, when it goes back to the previous question, you think at the beginning that this is what this person can do, and I'm gonna keep them in their box, and I'm gonna go find those outside needs that need to be met outside, when you haven't given your person the opportunity to grow.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I know someone else wants to
No,
say
I'm not
something.
saying. I'm not saying.
I'm saying that we all need to. I don't feel as though I should give my all or put all of my issues on one individual, because someone else that I may be speaking to or dealing with, they may see it from a totally different perspective, and they may open up your eyes so that you can give that opportunity to your partner. And that has happened to me many of times, where I didn't even think about, you know, how I should speak to my partner about a situation. Like I said, me and emotions don't go well.
That's what therapy is for.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or somebody you can confide in, like a best friend, like, or a close friend. It doesn't have to be a best friend. Somebody who understands what you're going through. I totally agree with you. Like, sometimes you try to figure out how to communicate to others your feelings and not them get offensive, or you trying to get the message across. And I always used to use, I know it's gonna sound correct, do whatever language you gotta use to get your point across. Just use it. Like, leave my feelings out of it. Just say what you gotta say, and I'll deal with those feelings later. Like, what are you trying to say? Because clearly you want to say something. I totally agree. Which with that point you just made. Let's go to Tony.
Your mic.
Oh, sorry.
And turn your camera. Turn
So,
your camera.
my phone won't let me. For some reason.
There you go.
Oh, no. So, my premises for open relationships: you shouldn't be having an open relationship until you establish that mental connection with each other. Because for me, that is what keeps outside people at bay. Your connection of what's going on in the situation. Because when you're actually in that situation, there's so much stuff that can actually happen that if you're not in tune with each other, you can miss it, and it can mess up your relationship because you're not in tune. Um, so I would not necessarily want my significant other looking for mental um, stimulation outside the relationship. Just that anything we do outside the relationship is just physical. It's just like a sexual thing. Um, Not saying we can't have a conversation and talk, but we're not like going off and having separate and individual relationships conversations with this person. Because I guess that kind of doesn't make sense to me if we're in a relationship and we're doing this just to have a threesome.
Say it again.
In the book, they
Hmm?
in the book they encourage it. You
To have mental stimulation with someone else outside the relationship.
whatever need that you need
Whether it's
fulfilled or
physical,
met.
mental, emotional, any
Yes.
type
Okay,
of.
as far as like mental, for me, I feel like that's you and that person really working on how to communicate. Because if you can get your communication down and you can get, and like I said, if you come to somebody in respect, love, and honesty, and you're communicating in that way, then you can get through the mental part of it because there's going to be an understanding. You can get through it. But as far as physical, I mean, that's something different.
But
It's
here's the
physical.
thing, though. If I'm in a relationship with one person and I share something with an individual, the situation is not fixed with my partner. Just because I was, sharing something with another individual it does not satisfy exactly what the problem is, especially if it's emotional or something like that. The problem with most emotional situations in a relationship, it has to be confronted in a relationship. It has to be.
Yes, yes, it does have to be confronted, and it should be taken care of. But to me, if you can't get past an emotion doing something emotional like that, then why are you together? Why
Well,
are you not with somebody else?
that was what was a little confusing to me in the book. So the book encouraged that you could get those needs, mental stimulation needs, or financial needs met, anything outside of your relationship met, and it would say that you have relationships. It's not you're a side piece. It's another
Mm-hmm.
relationship. It's when they're having an open relationship, it's a whole nother relationship.
That's a poly
Mm,
situation. That's
That's a lot
to
to
keep
keep
up
more.
up.
with is what it is. I
No,
just
so it's telling you that you both of you, you and your partner should be have honesty, have
of course.
communication, lay down your groundwork, and don't act on something until you can figure you and your partner and the third party can make sure that the situation, we all have an understanding of what's happening here, nobody's being harmed, and it teaches you to
Yeah.
get past your ego and your
Mm-hmm.
pride, because you're innately going to have that sometimes, and it teaches you how to argue. So my only problem is how do you, I think everybody in a relationship wants to be the big dog. Even if you look at shows like that are like the Mormon shows, there's always the first wife. Like, you somebody, how do you want to be? I mean, there's guys that want to be the side guy and don't have to focus on anything else. But how do you compete to know that but most people want to be the main guy?
That's why it's just not, when everyone understands the dynamic of whatever the type of relationship is, there's no competing. Whether there is the hierarchy or whether there is not a hierarchy and everyone is equal, if everyone understands the dynamic of the situation, there's no competition. Period. And I don't think that there's going to be a person competing to be, or why should you be in a relationship if you're competing to be that number one person? Like, just, you're in an
I
open
I
was
relationship.
think because he's probably been the dominant person in his relationships, and so he
what,
hasn't had to worry about the feelings of the other person because he doesn't.
but
Um, uh,
but the thing
uh,
about it is, it's
so I think it doesn't bother him, but for a person who um, wants to, because it also teaches you that you need to learn basically the love language of your significant other,
Mm-hmm.
and do things of affirmation to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they know that they're secure in your relationship. But so you're supposed to compliment them, you're supposed to do the things that makes that person feel good, and let them know, like, reassure them that your relationship isn't going anywhere. But how do you determine what relationship is the relationship? Like, the relationship.
Why do you
And
have the relationship?
I don't know.
Why do you have to have the relationship if you know that you have, and everyone that is in the situation knows that you have multiple situations? Why is there a competition of saying, oh, this is the one, this right here, this is my relationship, and nothing is going to change that at all?
I would say
Yeah, I
because
agree with that.
I would say because when I go to a wedding, or when I go to my family's house for Christmas, or when I go to a funeral, I want to know I have a person to take.
Well, you have
When it comes,
you have
wait.
choices. You can take
Well,
Well,
multiple people.
I don't
that
want to
sounds
make
like you're trying
choices
to
around my family. But go ahead.
that that sounds like you're trying to appease
Mm-hmm.
heteronormativity,
Mm-hmm.
basically. If you are in a situation where you have two people, be with them two people.
Yeah.
Like
It could
bring
be
in
three
one.
though. It could be three too.
It could. That's what I mean. Two other people outside of yourself is what I meant. Um, or
three,
however
3
many.
or
If you're
4.
in a throuple or whatever the hell, however many people, if you're in a poly situation, that's something that's like you have to come out again. That's another thing you have to like come out for,
Oh, that's not my
to
issue. I was just
yeah.
saying as a
No, I know.
okay, devil's advocate. But
Yeah. I don't think
so
you should have to pick a main one, which I think if you're in a poly
is there a main
situation,
one
I think
though?
it's a
Would there be a
problem if
main
you're trying
one?
to pick a main one.
Is there a
Like
main one? Because I
it,
don't want to buy 10 gifts.
Someone doesn't have a relationship in any kind of way.
I don't want to spend. I don't want to buy 10 gifts and then see who what person feels bad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. So okay, so the last question, because we need to get off. The book, we're jumping over questions really quick, but the book was written by lesbians, and I had a discussion with a female who was heterosexual, and she said the physical act of sex is something that should be cherished because every time you have sex with somebody, you're giving a piece of yourself away, and I agree in that sense, and I also feel from a woman's perspective that's definitely something that they are actually feeling. It's that connection. So, and in a sense of a bottom, the bottom would think that way as well. But then I thought too, hey, the top is actually doing that too. You're exchanging energy.
Right.
But in the book, so if you're hooking up with somebody who's like a bad person, you're absorbing that bad energy,
Right.
and then if you're a bad person, you're giving your bad energy to somebody else. So I was thinking, this book, it was written by lesbians. So lesbians don't actually physically exchange that connection.
Yes, they do.
So
because they don't have intercourse with each other. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
yes, they
No,
do.
they do. They
Yes,
do.
they do.
No, they do.
But
They do.
let me say something really quick. So if they're not, is it different because they're not physically having that exchange?
No.
It's an energy exchange. I had what was it, like metaphysical sex, and like we were clothed in the energy that he was putting into my body, and I had an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's just because it's not a physical.
Okay,
Sex is actually a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And if you don't get that, then that's where you mess up at. And a lot of people that are running around just having a lot of sex, and you don't even know the energy that's being left on you, and you're wondering why you're in this state. And then the first time I even had metaphysical sex, I freaked out because I was like, "What did you do to me? What was that?" But that was me on my path to being an empath and finding out what that was. So that's basically how lesbians have sex. It's an energy exchange.
Okay.
And it's a physical exchange. Just because it's not penetrative does not mean that it's not. Yeah. Let's not discount women and lesbians and their sexual, the way that they experience sex. I also wonder what they mean by what they say cherish. Sex is something that's meant to be cherished, because I've always just thought of sex as something that's meant to be shared, and you get to define who or how many people you want to share it with. Mm-hmm. Some people cherish being a cum dump, and that doesn't discount, the experience of someone who only wants to, do something with one person. I think cherish might mean, now in that situation, I think cherish might mean something different from like a gender standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, but
like when women were taught to cherish their virginity.
Yes.
What did you say?
Yeah.
Like when women were taught to cherish their virginity, and that it was sacred and all of that stuff, and that you shouldn't be having sex with all these people. I do believe that sex is something that we should be experiencing, and that it is meant to be shared. But I also do believe you should be selective who you have sex with because it is a spiritual thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm curious about your metaphysical experience. Was it
Me too.
was it was it a tantric session, or was this something that happened spontaneously with someone that you weren't expecting?
Spontaneously that I wasn't expecting,
Uh-huh.
but I could feel the energy. I
Mm,
just started researching on my empath journey, and I could feel it, and I didn't know what it was. And the fact that I had an orgasm let me
yeah.
know what it was. So
Yeah, I've done that too, but I've actually, mine was like I started out, I did like a tantric weekend, and it's like the best orgasm I ever had was I didn't come, was like a whole 5 minute body shaking,
I cried.
hysterically
I cried
crying.
afterwards. I
Yeah,
literally cried. I was like, "What did you do to me?" I was crying.
yeah.
It was good though. It was good.
That's what's up. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Justin had to get off. But thank you guys for joining us and participating in this conversation. We're going to continue this this show probably later down the road, but because we didn't get a chance to get through all the questions, but we do believe it's a topic that should be discussed and expounded on. So thank you for Julian and Tommy.
Thank you guys for being our guests.
Thank you for having me.
Justin
Thank
did a
you.
costume change. He done Mariah Carey.
No, I wasn't doing it. I kept coughing, so I had to remove myself. Sorry, y'all.
All right.
All
But
right.
we'll talk to you guys later. And thank you again.
Great show. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Good to meet
Bye.
you.
All right.